Yeah, thank you for that share, Jan. There's so much to unpack there, but I like the last piece that you said. Actually, I started writing it down. If you're unable to withstand the pressure, right? It doesn't become repeatable. The same comes for wellness, right? So a lot of people are going out, they're wanting to be superheroes in the world. They're wanting to give the best of themselves, but they're not necessarily well. They don't necessarily have that foundation of breath, right? The foundation of nutrition, the foundation of exercise, etc., to do that. So I definitely want to unpack that. The other thing I wanted to touch on was the superhero piece, right? The media piece, justice for hire. So as you know, I have a 9-year-old daughter, and so she's into the cartoons, into the Comic Con, into anime, etc. And I notice how she does learn from the cartoons, right? So how amazing is it that you're doing something that will allow them to learn something positive, right? Learn a skill, if you will, that will serve them for life. Tell me about that journey that led you there.
Sure. Thank you for that. Many people have said versions of this, but I love the concept of we're all brainwashed. It just depends on what you wash your brain with. And so we condition ourselves at all times. And when I realized how much my environment really affected me growing up, where everywhere I look as a child, there's a different religion's form of God. So I'd see Jesus, I'd see Ganesha, I'd see African powers, I'd see all these different forms of God, like pictures all around my home, and martial arts images, Buddhist images, etc. So, and when I'm away from that, I noticed that I feel different, and it really took me like it wasn't until like maybe not so many years ago that I realized, like, hold on, I need to have more images of God as interpreted by various systems around me, and that the balance of those images with superheroes was massive. That's why I keep all these different. This doesn't look like a superhero, but I guarantee it is. Ninja Spawn. I keep action figures. I keep images of God, and I keep things that remind me of of what I want to find inside around me. So recognizing that we are in a time where people are growing up with social media. They're social first. Uh, Social first means that you are a part of the conversation. We consider a social network or social media, from the real world justice for hire perspective, a story that we're all telling together. And it's not framed that way though. But life is a story that we're all telling together, and it's not framed that way though. So, when we make our cinematic social network, when we have our first show, Justice for Hire, right now we have one app for one show, and it's a social network for one show. Everybody who's on it is part of the show. Everyone is a character in this large cinematic universe, similar to Marvel, where every character has their supporting cast, and they have their own movies, and then
Wait, hold on. So, Jen, wait, 1 sec, please. So, elaborate. So, I didn't realize. So, any one of us could then join that social media of
Yeah, yeah.
Justice Fire.
Right now, if you go to justiceforhire.app, you create immediately a character. You are asked if you want to be a hero, villain, or a client that hires them, and you create your own character with your own name, and you're injected into the story right where we are as currently in the story world, and you start telling your story. And then if you want to, only if you want to, you can tie your story together with other people and then keep expanding. And that's how you come into our events, and we shoot stuff live with you. And then maybe you're in the main show with some of our like, professional cast members, etc. So it's a really fun ecosystem that we've built. And it's the beginning of what we see as a new sector in the film and television industry, where the audience truly is part of the show, and not in a like arm's length way where it's like, okay, yeah, you're an audience member, maybe you can vote on this, but you actually are controlling how everything evolves, because that's what happens with you. If you litter on the street or you throw it in a trash can, you're controlling how the story evolves, even on a micro level. So we do it in narrative form.